Freedom at last for an American news team held by Iraq. And on the eve of truce talks, a new battle near Basra. This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. It has been almost 6 weeks since they disappeared in the Saudi Arabian desert, but today, on the eve of a meeting that Allied and Iraqi field commanders have scheduled to discuss a formal ceasefire, our CBS News team, Bob Simon, Peter Bluff, Roberto Alvarez, and Juan Caldera were finally set free in Baghdad. Betsy Aaron is in Baghdad and has the details.
Roberto, talk to them.
Look, we're going home, which is the place you go to after a war when you've been as lucky as we've been.
They were released to CBS News before dawn this morning at the Al Rashid Hotel. Correspondent Bob Simon, producer and London bureau chief Peter Bluff, cameraman Roberto Alvarez, sound man Juan Caldera.
As you can see, we've lost a little weight. We've aged a little, but we're fine. This is a story that could have ended another way, but it's had a happy ending.
I think we're all grateful to friends, colleagues, and people we've never met, never heard of, but who worked on our behalf to make it all come out all right.
I want to apologize to my family for what they've gone through. And hopefully God blesses everybody that's still out there. And I hope they'll all be okay soon. And God bless all of them. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody involved in our release. Above all, I want to thank God that the four of us are alive. And I want to tell my mother I love her.
They spent 9.5 hours in the hotel while their exit papers were processed. The Iraqis then took them on a tour of the city to show what the Allied bombing had done. 20 minutes later, in the shadow of what used to be a post office and telecommunications building, passports were presented.
I used to look like that.
And finally, a goodbye from an Iraqi official.
I hope that you will reach safely to your family and your friends.
I will come back if I'm allowed.
Yeah, definitely.
You allow me to come back?
Of course.
Let me get a little weight back on.
Betsy Aaron, CBS News, Baghdad.
The release of the news team, as well as the release of military prisoners of war, is one of the conditions set by the Allies as part of the ceasefire. It all came about after weeks of high and low-level behind-the-scenes negotiations. Bob Four is with us now and has the details on that.
Win Kuwait?
Kuwait. هذا في طريق.
Small.
It all began 40 days ago when 4 journalists broke away from military restrictions confining the press to Saudi Arabia and tried to make their way into Kuwait. Baghdad Radio said today the 4 were seized in northern Saudi Arabia because they had entered the area illegally. Immediately, a worldwide rescue effort was launched, spearheaded in large part by the Soviet Union. In mid-February, Soviet envoy Yevgeny Primakov asked Saddam what had happened to the 4. Then,
when Mr. Aziz was coming to Moscow, and he was here recently twice, President Gorbachev both times had it also on the agenda and put it right in front of them on the table, saying that we want to know what's happening with these people. And if you know what's happening there, let them go.
Journalists, maybe you saw them? No.
the Soviets weren't the only ones looking hard. From Jordan to Iraq, CBS News Vice President Don DeCesare went painstakingly, often tent to tent, soliciting information. 4,000 journalists signed petitions to get their compatriots released.
Hundreds of journalists helped the United States government, President Bush, Secretary of State Baker. The key, I believe, was the government of the Soviet Union.
From official and unofficial sources, the dragnet spread. PLO chief Yasser Arafat personally delivered an appeal to Saddam. So did former Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega. There were messages as well from Jordan's king and his wife, Queen Noor. And what turned out to be crucial, a letter from former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
It was a personal letter for Mr. Gorbachev. And President Gorbachev, as soon as he received the letter, and he read it in Minsk, being on his trip to Belarus, gave the instructions to the Soviet ambassador in Baghdad to personally go to Saddam Hussein in his office and demand immediate release of these people. And this time it worked.
It all worked, says CBS News Moscow Bureau Chief Joe Ritchie, because the Soviet Union cleared its bureaucratic decks and made it work.
The office of the president, his aides, made themselves very accessible. They gave me home phone numbers and told me that I could call them whenever I felt the need.
But this is the world of the Middle Eastern bazaar, where nothing is done without something being given or expected in return. Here, as CBS correspondent Doug Tunnell said in Amman, no one thinks the release came for humanitarian reasons.
There's an expression in Arabic, not for the color of your eyes. It indicates there's a price for everything. And certainly, even the release of our guys is probably part of an exchange, part of a dialogue, a communication between Saddam Hussein and the Soviets.
We're obviously delighted that they have been released.
From the Secretary of Defense to the President's Chief of Staff, official Washington welcomed the release and hoped it signals the release of others. Relieved families of the four men were delighted.
Terrific joy. I mean, joy that just kind of filled me from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head.
Soviet President Gorbachev knows what she means.
He even cracked a joke saying that this was a very good gift for my birthday, because as you probably know, President Gorbachev is 60 today. And I think this is a very good and positive example of our cooperation. That's something that we can do together.
Very happy. It's been a very happy day. Happiest day of my life. I didn't think it would happen.
After 40 days and 40 nights, their ordeal ended, and with it, the extraordinary efforts to get them out. Bob Fall, CBS News, New York.
U.S. officials say a prisoner of war exchange will have top priority when Allied and Iraqi commanders hold their first truce talks tomorrow. Iraq has told the International Red Cross it is now ready to begin exchanging POWs immediately, but it has made no mention of returning Kuwaiti and other civilians. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, the most serious flare-up on the battlefield since the Allied offensive ended, and later stopping the flow of arms to the Middle East.
You know, I've always wondered about a lot of margarines and spreads that say they have a buttery taste, and you pin them down, there's no butter in them. Read the label on Kraft Touch of Butter spread and see for yourself. It's made with creamy, rich butter. Yep, just a touch. So when Kraft Touch of Butter says buttery taste, there's no doubt about it. I wouldn't serve anything less. Kraft Touch of Butter. A touch of real butter makes a real difference.
In Jupiter, a beef stir-fry takes less than 5 minutes and a steak takes less than 10. The people of Jupiter call this weightlessness. Beef, real food in Jupiter, Florida.
What a feeling, feeling fresh.
Introducing Fix-It-N Fresh with a crisp, clean feeling and a stronger hold than any other cream adhesive. A fresh new feeling and stronger hold are two new reasons to fix it and forget it.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
Despite the Gulf ceasefire, one U.S. commander said today the battle is still very alive. In a major incident today, a unit of 140 Iraqi tanks and armored vehicles trying to escape northward in Iraq opened fire on U.S. forces. The Americans returned the fire and destroyed or captured many of the Iraqi vehicles. 2 more U.S. soldiers were killed by mines today, raising the total American combat dead to 97. More details emerged today of the final hours of the doomed Iraqi occupation. And Eric Engberg has more on that.
Hussein's plan to pull a major portion of his army out of Kuwait City ahead of the Allies to fight again someday died here in a bungled retreat on the Al-Jahra highway to Iraq. U.S. and British engineers today were clearing hundreds of smashed Iraqi vehicles from the road and counting the dead soldiers pulled from destroyed tanks and trucks. As souvenir hunters sorted through the remnants of troops doomed in part by their penchant for robbing Kuwait. The Iraqis had foolishly delayed their flight from Kuwait City until the Americans were near the outskirts, in part to conduct one last-minute looting spree.
In addition to being fairly incompetent, they were thieves as well as murderers.
Stolen cars left running on the highway by the Iraqis to confuse American electronic heat-sensing equipment did not throw off U.S. planes, which spotted, then destroyed the vehicles leading the dash out of Kuwait City. Then the Tiger Brigade, an Army armored outfit supporting the Marines, moved in with M1 tanks and began firing into the helpless Iraqi vehicles. Caught in a 2-mile-long bottleneck, the Iraqis faced a simple choice: surrender or annihilation. Some of the trapped drivers abandoned the highway to try to escape through the desert, to no avail.
Seeing the damage that we did to these guys, it almost makes it worthwhile spending all the time that we spent over here.
Allied troops are continuing the nerve-wracking work of finding and disabling the deadly residue of the occupation. This capital was once a major resort city because of the popularity of its beaches. Now the bathers are replaced by men wearing bulletproof clothes and serious expressions. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Kuwait City.
There are reports today of a total breakdown of civil order in Basra, Iraq's second largest city. Streets are gridlocked with trucks abandoned by Iraqi soldiers escaping from Kuwait. A Kuwaiti official said today that 33,000 of his people are missing, killed, or were taken hostage by the Iraqis. Reporters were shown mass graves of Kuwaiti civilians today, reportedly killed by the Iraqis. These are uncomfortable times for Palestinian workers in Kuwait who allegedly collaborated with the Iraqis. And now Bob McEwen has that.
In Kuwait City today, it was a time for getting even and settling old scores. The Kuwaiti army and other Arab forces searched the streets for Iraqi soldiers hiding after Monday's desperate midnight run towards the safety of their border. The Kuwaiti resistance was also hunting down those suspected of aiding and abetting Iraq's 7 months of ruthless occupation. There is martial law here now, but with little military presence. In effect, it's the law of the gun, and almost everyone in this town has one. No one really knows what will happen to those detained today, but most of them were Palestinian or Jordanian. Many born and raised in Kuwait, many supported Saddam Hussein.
There's many Palestinians who were born here, who were studying here, and all of a sudden, the loyalty of this years goes fastly. They are working with the Iraqis.
There are 200,000 Palestinians here, people with no homeland, and when the Iraqis came, no place else to go. They'd spent entire lives as second-class citizens with foreign identity cards, unable to share in the wealth of Kuwait. Saddam Hussein took on the Palestinians' quest for a homeland as part of his own crusade, and they in turn backed him.
In my opinion, there's been like 20% of Palestinians who are supportive to Iraq.
During the Iraqi occupation, there were charges of collaboration, Palestinians fingering Kuwaitis who were then abducted or killed.
Don't blame any Kuwaitis when he reacts over Palestinians. It will take a long time, we know, against Jordanian or Palestinian.
Palestinians were favored, getting food and fuel, while Kuwaitis had to line up and often had to do without. Restrictions on opening businesses were lifted. These vendors didn't exist before August. These Palestinian merchants are still accepting Iraqi cash, but today the resistance is settling accounts.
We do this because he helped Iraqi people. We are in Kuwait.
How did he help the Iraqi people?
He take the money from Iraq. He don't take the money from Kuwait.
I will give you a truth. I am afraid. I'm Palestinian. I am afraid. I will go when the border is open. I will go to Jordan or to Palestine.
So there are a few Kuwaiti flags flying over Palestinian neighborhoods tonight, a few shots being fired in celebration. There are roadblocks and searches, and the growing concern that the Kuwaiti government might use martial law to get rid of at least some Palestinians altogether. Bob?
Thank you, Bob. For Americans, this is a weekend of relief that the shooting is virtually over and that the casualty count is very low. But in small towns and big cities, there are also funerals and memorials for those who did die and homecomings for the wounded. Bob McNamara is in one of those cities.
At Denver's Buckley Air National Guard Base, Jose Correa stood in the windy night welcoming home the first of America's 217 combat wounded soldiers. 3 had been injured by friendly fire. 24-year-old specialist Kim Ta suffering shrapnel wounds to the legs.
I think it's unfortunate that it happened. I'm a little angry, but it's in any war there's bound to be some friendly fire, so I take it as it comes.
And how do you feel about being home now?
I'm super glad to be home. I miss home a lot, and glad to be here.
God bless America.
In Denver, as elsewhere today, was a Support the Troops rally.
I'm proud of them people over there.
And God bless the USA.
There it is. There it is.
Here, mothers of sons in the Gulf were especially grateful to General Norman Schwarzkopf.
Man of the decade, Stormin' Norman, because he's bringing our troops home safely, and he did a great job.
Still, on many quiet American streets today, this is a sad time for the 89 lives lost.
I think it's kind of ironic that so few died and out of so many, and one of them just happened to be my son.
Larry Dillon's Korean-born son, Sergeant Young Min Dillon, died of wounds suffered in a firefight just 1 day before the Gulf ceasefire.
I don't believe that he fought for oil or fought for politics. He fought for freedom, and it wasn't only in Kuwait, or not only for Kuwaiti freedom, but for freedom around the world. And for that, I'm proud of him.
Young Min Dillon leaves a 6-month-old son, Daniel, and a wife expecting their second child in July. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Denver.
It begins at dawn. They've come for you. And they want what you have. It's your bed, your Serta Perfect Sleeper, but it's the most comfortable spot in the house. The Serta surface and support only Serta builds in makes it that way. So if it gets a little late for breakfast, there's always brunch. Is it any wonder people are saying, I want my Serta?
It's not easy to pull yourself away from a bowl of Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Those 2 scoops of raisins taste so good, you'll find that once you start, you can't leave them behind. It's those 2 scoops that taste too good to pull yourself away. 2 scoops of raisins, golden flakes of bran. Get every bite you can. It's those 2 scoops that taste too good to pull yourself away. 2 scoops that taste too good in Kellogg's Raisin Bran. 2 scoops.
Now you can ask Angela Lansbury about Bufferin.
Angela, for a miserable backache, is Bufferin really strong aspirin?
Oh, my, yes. I've learned extra strength Bufferin has the strongest dose of aspirin you can buy, 1,000 milligrams.
Miss Lansbury, how can Bufferin be so strong if it has buffers?
I wondered myself, till I heard that the buffers don't weaken it. They just help prevent aspirin stomach upset. I depend on Bufferin.
Shouldn't you discover the strength of Bufferin?
CBS News in the Gulf. Dan Ramsey, Bob McEwen, Richard Trelkel, Betsy Aaron, and Bob Simons experience CBS News.
With Iraq's army in tatters, its thousands of tanks wrecked, its other military equipment in ruins, the administration's attention focuses now on how to prevent Iraq from getting replacements. That is our Washington Notebook tonight, the post-war Middle East. A shift in the balance of power, but still a dangerous and volatile place.
Let's hope that out of all this, there will be less proliferation of all kinds of weapons, not just unconventional weapons.
The president knows it will take more than hope to stop the flow of arms to the world's most volatile region. For one thing, the U.S. agreed during the war to sell billions of dollars worth of the latest high-tech weapons to its coalition partners. Already, the administration has proposed $20 billion to Saudi Arabia for systems like the latest model M1 tanks and F-15 attack jets. Only $7 billion has been approved. Congress is reconsidering the rest. Egypt was forgiven its $7 billion debt, but now wants the new American M1 tanks that laid waste to the Iraqi war machine.
These are the Toyotas of the arms industry, and the stuff the Soviets have isn't very good. And the Saudis and others are going to get out their checkbooks and they're going to ask to sell.
To Israel, where spanking new Patriot missiles were rushed to defend against Scud attacks, requests for new F-15s and munitions up to $1 billion worth. $37 million promised to Bahrain, $400 million to the United Arab Emirates. The list goes on.
The buildup in arms in the Middle East has been simply incredible, totally out of proportion to the size of the countries and the security issues involved.
I think we have to be very, very careful how we rearm this region if, in fact, we decide to do so.
The experts predict that the stability the end of the war has brought to the Gulf won't last long. Traditional rivalries are bound to resume, raising the specter that arms supplied to our allies for defense could one day be used for offense.
The time has come to try to change the destructive pattern of military competition and proliferation in this region and to reduce arms flows into an area that is already over-militarized.
That's precisely why some arms experts say controls will never work in the Middle East unless all weapons-producing countries join in to limit weapons not just to Iraq, but throughout the region.
Unless it involves the U.S., the Soviet Union, France, the biggest suppliers, it's really not going to matter very much.
And sorting out how to go about that, of course, will be high on Secretary of State Baker's list when he heads to the Middle East and the Soviet Union next week.
The same medicine found in the prescription drug Motrin.
The same medicine found in the prescription drug Motrin.
Same as in Motrin in non-prescription strength.
The same medicine found in the prescription drug.
Did you ever notice that a lot of pain relievers seem to be saying the same thing? Well, if you want the same medicine found in the prescription drug Motrin, wouldn't it just be simpler to ask for Motrin IB? Non-prescription strength Motrin IB. You can't buy a more effective pain reliever without a prescription. Motrin IB. Accept no alternatives.
Red Lobster introduces our Shrimp Sensations dinner, just $7.99, with tangy shrimp Veracruz and new Parmesan fried shrimp, together with popcorn shrimp, specially priced just $7.99 for a limited time, now at Red Lobster.
It's Red Lobster's new lunch special. Shrimp and chicken, just $3.99. Golden fried shrimp and grilled chicken breast with salad and baked potato, just $3.99 for a limited time at Red Lobster for lunch.
Ziploc presents Fingerman.
Hi, I'm here to demonstrate a big new idea. That's right, introducing the new Gripper Zipper from Ziploc. Now the easiest closing bag there is. In fact, I can even close it, blindfolded. I know it's closing because I can feel the zipper grabbing hold. It's locking. Feel it close the first time, every time. And you don't have to see it to believe it. Ooh. Ziploc bags with the new Gripper Zipper. The easiest closing bag there is.
The source of Kuwait's enormous wealth is literally in flames these days. Putting out the flames will take all of the skill and experience of a group of American oil firefighters. Bruce Hall has a report.
More than 500 oil wells are burning tonight in Kuwait, creating a blazing inferno across the country. Putting out these fires will be the job for 3 renowned Texas oil well firefighting teams.
Well, it's the largest job, I believe, that any of the 3 major firefighting companies have ever challenged or ever even dreamed that would happen.
These companies have tackled the toughest oil fires in the world, but never anything like this. The fires are destroying 3 million barrels of oil a day, $45 million a day going up in smoke. The firefighters in Texas are putting together their equipment, knowing it will not only be a hot and dirty job, but a dangerous one. There are fears Iraqi soldiers booby-trap some wells, put mines around others.
It's just a difficult situation. You have to be extremely careful.
A 1969 movie based on famed firefighter Red Adair, who will be leading one team in Kuwait, shows how they will use dynamite. The huge explosion will eat up all of the oxygen above the well, thus putting out the fire. But in Kuwait, the fires are not the only problem. There are also billowing clouds of thick black smoke.
We are looking at a very severe and possibly catastrophic environmental pollution event.
The smoke is blotting out the sun, turning daylight to dusk in Kuwait. and producing black rain over parts of Iran.
And we see that impacting human population as well as animal population, agriculture, and vegetation in the region.
Some of the firefighters will be leaving tonight to get their first view of the fire-ravaged oil fields of Kuwait. But don't expect quick results. Company officials say it could take 18 months to 2 years to put out all of the fires. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Spring, Texas.
What makes a child seat safe is how an adult uses it. To make sure you're using your child seat right, see an Allstate agent for a free booklet.
Pick up line 2. I need that file.
Line 4.
Find the blueprint.
There's the architect.
Sell!
Buy! Short the market!
The power to put it all behind you. To kiss all the stress, all the stomach-churning headaches of business goodbye. That's the power of United. That's the power of the friendly skies.
I can't see a thing. Where are we? Oh, no.
Did you remember to bring the car in?
Napa, because there are no unimportant parts.
With ceasefire talks scheduled tomorrow, we close tonight with Bruce Morton's commentary.
I saw a torn old poster on my way to work. U.S. out of the Middle East, it said. No more Vietnams. Well, the U.S. isn't out of the Middle East, but it wasn't another Vietnam. This war was short and victorious. Vietnam was neither, but it differed in other ways as well. Vietnam left Americans suspicious of their military. Were they incompetent? Were they cruel? Why couldn't they win? They won this time, of course, but more than that, anyone watching generals like Colin Powell and Norman Schwarzkopf on television saw intelligent, caring men clearly aware of the death and pain war brings. So some old ghosts were laid to rest this week. America is proud of its military, proud of itself, as it hasn't been probably since Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked upon the moon way back in 1969. Pollsters are fond of asking, do you think the country is on the right track or headed in the wrong direction? Up until lately, wrong direction had been winning here, but this week Americans thought overwhelmingly America was on the right track, a pretty good measure of basic optimism. Vietnam bred a generation which saw the U.S. as a declining power with an ineffective military. The danger this time may be that we go to the other extreme, rush to the ramparts, see ourselves as world policemen ready to fight everywhere. The best guarantee against that overreaction may be those thoughtful, intelligent generals who clearly know the pain and risk of war. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
And I'm Bob Schieffer in New York. Good night.
CBS. Upon its introduction, the first Acura Legends set a new standard for performance sedans. But as impressive as that may have been, it was merely a reflection of